If this is your first experience doing finger waves, not this kind, but the hair kind, let me just give you a way to just kind of get the movement started rather than doing a whole head at the very beginning. A really easy way for you to just learn how it goes. It's a push-pull method creating the wave. Just start practicing by combing your mannequin up, gelling it up, getting it ready. The movements are that you lay your finger down flat, you put your comb 90 degrees beside your finger, pull it, lay the comb down, and pinch the hair off. Pick up the back, roll off the front. And we'll let you do at least 2 of those. Rather than trying to go all the way around the head and connect them very beginning, this will help you understand the movement. Because remember, we're creating almost a constant S when you do finger waves. So we're starting to open and close. Always there's an open and closed end, and we start in the open end. The open end is, if you're looking at a C, this is the open end. So there's the open end. If you put your C here, it's not open back here. So you always want to start at the open end. So you can comb this hair out of your way. Go to this hair, comb it over, pinch it off. Same here, over, connect it, and pinch it off. Over, connect, and pinch it off. Making a third row, hold on to that ridge, place your comb. Same thing for the next one. I'm not pushing that comb up. That's important. So there you go with your wave. That's a good way just to start practicing. You can practice in different sections. Just practice that back and forth movement of connecting your sections together. Move it with the big end, smooth it with the small end, comb it underneath, and connect it as you go. And that's a good way, good warm up for a good finger wave on your mannequin. Today we're going to be doing finger waves. Not this kind, but the hair kind of finger waves. We're going to start off by preparing your mannequin and getting all your tools and supplies ready. You want to have a mannequin that hair has approximately 4 to 5 inches of layering. Uniform layering is really good. If it gets much longer than that, it's too much weight and it will pull on your ridges on your finger waves and you won't get a good wave in there. And you want to have a really good gel and a 7-inch comb. Gel has to be thick enough to really hold that hair. It has to have a good strong hold to it. 7-inch comb, your all-purpose comb is really good because you have your large teeth or your big end of the comb and your smaller teeth, which is your small end of the comb. So we move with the big end, smooth with the small end. And throughout the whole time, you're going to be rolling your comb as you work because you're going to be moving the hair and smoothing the hair, moving it and smoothing it. So we're going to start off by creating a side part in your mannequin. Your part should come in the top of the recession area. It's usually right in the corner of that eye up. So mine's already sectioned to the side. You'll see I've got it combed down nice and smooth. Side is at a diagonal angle over. And I tried to distribute the hair kind of even out in the crown area where she's thinner. And most of you will have that issue with your mannequins, is that they're a little bit thinner in that crown area. But it's expected, so don't be surprised if you see a little bit of scalp in there when you're working. Now, what we want to do is make sure it's smoothed and angled back before we begin. Okay. And you want to place your index finger in the recession area, which is the highest part of the head on that side. You want to place your comb, large end, 90 degrees beside your finger. And we're going to pull that hair forward. We're going to give it a nice strong tug. Lay the comb down. And comb it back. After you've made that first pull and got that section ready, you're going to start adding to it. What I need to do is connect from here to there. Place my finger, index finger here to hold my ridge in place that I've already created. Hold your comb 90 degrees beside your finger. Give it a nice tug. Lay the comb down Notice I did not push the comb up. All I did was lay it down. Pick the finger up and roll that one off. When you get to the corners of the back of the head, you're going to have to really kind of distribute that hair out and around. The hair's thinner. Don't get concerned if you can see through the scalp. Remember, you're going to have to practice it a few times, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it anyway. So notice she's a little thin. It's okay. It's not an issue. Smooth that hair with the small end. And sometimes when the hair is really thin, you have to do it all with the small end of the comb, just so that you don't create any separation. But even then, you keep the comb at 90 and go under and connect that hair with what you've already done. You want to continue doing this all the way through till you get to the other side to create a nice first ridge. I'm keeping my mannequin's head straight in one position so that I don't keep getting in front of the camera. But you'll be able to move your mannequin's head around. I'm picking mine up and doing it, but you'll be able to move your body more when you're doing this. And generally I would too. Go back under. I'm not going all the way to the top of my finger. I'm going about halfway underneath to connect that hair with what I've already done. Rolling that comb each time. Lift up the back. Roll off that index finger. My last one. And I want to make sure it's nice and connected. Pick up the back, roll that index finger off. Now what you'll see is that we've got a ridge and it follows all the way around to head to here. Now we started off pulling that hair towards the face. Now whatever you start off with, whether you're pulling or pushing, your next row was going to be the exact opposite. So we started off pulling that hair out. So this time for this row, we're going to push that hair forward. We always start at the open end. And if you'll look, what you'll see is this has like the back side of the C, of a backward C to it. That's closed. This one is the C opened. So this is your open end. It's also a state board question there in that. You always start off your finger waves in the open end. Place your fingers here. We're going to protect our previous ridge with those two fingers. As we start our second ridge, you want to have that hair diagonally back. Make sure it's gelled down really well. Now, if you have gel falling down in the floor and you're getting a big puddle of it, you got too much product in the hair. So don't go overboard either. Place your comb. Give it a nice big tug. Lay the comb down. Smooth out that hair below. Lift the back. Roll this finger this direction this time. I'm going to connect this hair here to my little curve in my C there. Move it with the large end, smooth it with the small end. And you'll see me keep using the back of the comb to press that hair out. All I'm doing is making sure that my shaping stays in place, that nothing's pulling it loose. And then those little tiny hairs that like to pick and pull up, like there, I keep keeping them down into the shaping. I don't want them to start drying in the wrong angle because it'll affect the final outcome, the final look. So I'm going to continue doing this till I get to the other side of the head, and I'll be right back. Hope you're doing well with that second ridge. I'm at the side now, right at where I'm fixing to connect to that frontal hair. So I'm going to connect it using the back end of my comb against the piece that has connect to my open end here. Go back. Notice the comb didn't push. Lay the comb down and smooth the hair out. Pick up your back finger, Hold that ridge nice with your comb and roll off that finger. We're about to start our third ridge. We have 1, 2, and remember we started off pulling. The second row we were pushing, so what are we going to do for this row? That's right, we're going to pull again. So place your fingers on the second ridge this time to hold it secure. Place your comb 90 degrees. Give it a nice tug forward. Lay it down. And comb that hair and smooth it. Pick up your finger and roll off your second finger. Now we have 3 ridges, and we're going to continue connecting from your back to that front. Lay the comb down. Go underneath and smooth and connect. You want to get at least 3 nice ridges in here. Then we're going to do 2 rows of pin curls. Be careful when you place your finger that you don't drop your hand too far down, because you'll make your ridges get your wave will be too big. So especially if you have larger hands than mine, you want to make sure that you don't drop down, because the further away you get from that ridge, the larger your wave is going to become. And we don't want ocean waves. Place your finger, connect the hair, smooth it out. Be careful when you're smoothing it. You're only smoothing hair that's in where you're holding your ridge. If I try to smooth up here without holding that ridge, I'm going to pull it all loose, and we don't want to do that. At this point, we would be damaging 3 rows of ridges, not just 1. Connect it. Connect. Again, you're going to have a little bit of thinness right there in that area of the head. It's okay. It'll work itself all out. Connect it. Lay your comb down. Pinch that hair off. Smooth it with the small end. Connect your previous section to your section you're working with right now. And I'm going to connect my last piece from the front to the back. It's very common for that hair to grab your fingers as you're working and pick itself up somewhat, and it's because your gel is drying. So sometimes it'll grab because of that, and it's okay. If you can smooth it out, fine. If not, you may have to take it apart and rework the section. Now what we're going to do is move on to our pin curls. We have our ridges, 1, 2, 3. Let me give you that front view. So we're going to move to the pin curls, and your pin curls you want to start just like we do with the finger waves, where we're working with the open end. We're going to work with the open end with our finger waves as well, with the pin curls as well. Now, some of you will change over. Your instructors may be using a rat tail comb at this point. I personally do it all with an all-purpose comb, but if you want to make the change to the rat tail, that's perfectly fine with me. If you're going to use a metal tail comb, be very careful, because if your client's just had a chemical service, you don't want to scrape the scalp with that. So if you're going to use a rat tail, use a hard rubber one or some of the carbon, but just make sure that you're very gentle on that client's scalp. Hold your ridge in place. Get your pin curl section and ribbon it. And ribbon just means combing that hair together. Once you have it combed together, you're going to work very close to the scalp. I'm going to make that pin curl and not lift it out away from the head. Get it placed. and clip it beside the ridge and to the scalp. Not across it, inside and to the scalp close to that ridge. My pin curls are going to start building one on top of the other, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. Go to your second pin curl. And if your finger waves are done really well, when I'm pulling off these little sections, I won't be disturbing my shaping anywhere else. I should be able to go through and pull hair from within that section without disturbing another place. If you did, you picked your hair up and moved it too far. Keep that hair at the scalp close, the least amount of movement as possible. You want your pin curls to be equal in size. And again, you want them to start building them one on top of the other. Hold it in place. Show you a few more. Ribbon. Make sure that the little ends are nice and smooth together. Don't disturb that when you're making your pin curl. Tuck the tail inside. You don't want that on the top, because remember, as it dries some, it'll separate very easy, and we don't want that. And clip. Now when you get into the section that you've got hair below it, as you move behind the ear, you want to be very careful there. I want you to imagine that there's no hair below here. Imagine this little area right in here. That's where my finger is going to pick up hair each and every time, and I'm not going to pull hair from below there. That's how you keep your curls consistent and even. So watch what happens. And when I pick it up, the hair below, I'm just going to comb it down because it's not part of that pin curl. So when you get in the back, make sure your pin curls don't all of a sudden get big and fat and bulky, because you have to remember, the hair has to dry as well. And if your pin curls are really thick and bulky, they won't be consistent. Your curls will be uneven. Watch what I do. Use my thumb. Comb that hair below down. Ribbon hair for my pin curl. Make sure my ends are together. Not disturbing my shaping. I'm working very close. Tuck the little tail inside. And pin my next one. They should start shaping up just like this. So I'm going to do this all the way till I get to the other side. Ribbon. Don't disturb your shaping. Make this pin curl equal in size. Make sure that the little tail is tucked in. Not pinning it across. I'm only pinning just inside by that stem right at the scalp. So I'm going to do this all the way around, and then we're going to start with our second row. I've got my pin curls all the way around to the other side now. And I just want to show you I'm at the ear. And some of you have to really plan this out where it lands, because there has to be somewhere for that pin curl to hold on to. So this last little place that you do, what you're going to notice is this row of pin curls is going to fall right into that little shaping that we were creating. Remember where I said we had that little C shape and we were at the closed end? That's where we are. And so we're going to have a pin curl right there. And our final pin curl brings it all back together for our first row of pin curls. Ribbon. Make sure your ends are together nice and smooth. You really don't want to lift or disturb that shaping. Put it in place. Up. And clip it. Now, what a good test of your work is this. If you have correctly secured your pins to the scalp, to the hair, as you should. When you lift your mannequin and you hold her over, notice that those clips aren't moving. That means that they are actually secured to the scalp. If you only secure it to the hair, the top layer of that hair only, they'll move. So that's one good check for you to know that you haven't done it correctly. But there's our row of pin curls all the way around the head. Notice how they just lay one on top of the other, creating a nice layer. Now, if we had all of our pin curls going in this direction the last time, in order to follow our pattern that we created with our finger waves, we had them going away from the face, which meant they were going what? They were going in clockwise direction. The second row, we need to go in counterclockwise so that our wave pattern is continued, just like at top. So our curls would mimic that same thing. So you can even angle that hair back slightly. So you don't have to do anything, just give it a nice detangle and smoothed over. I'll let you see what I did. Making sure that our hair is combed nice at the scalp and that you're keeping it detangled all the way. So it's a nice little angle. And we're going to start that second row of pin curls. Now remember, don't want to disturb my top row. We're going to follow that same concept. If my finger waves were one finger away from me here, my pin curls are, my second row of pin curls, in order to be consistent, I need to do the same thing. So my same rule applies, that you do not go too far below that. Don't let it hang. So I want this row to sit right beside my first row, and I'm going to pin it to the scalp. My pin curls are going to lay in the opposite direction as the top part. Again, if your mannequin is permed, it may be a little bit easier. If it's not permed, you may have a little bit more trouble. My mannequin is not permed, but she'll work. Make your pin curl. Pin it close to the scalp, up at the scalp. Now, I did tuck my very first one in a little bit tighter because when you're doing a client, you want to make sure that you never have metal on the ear, because once they get on the dryer, it gets very hot. Then it burns the ear. So I tucked it back to make sure that the metal wasn't touching the ear. So you notice the second one lays a little bit more over on that one, but that would be the reason for it, especially if you were doing a client. Pick that hair up. I'm keeping it flat with my finger onto the scalp. Working it close to the head while I'm making that pin curl. And tucking those little ends under. Laying it on top of my other pin curl. And clipping it to the scalp, just like before. Again, don't clip across that pin curl, you clip on the inside of it. So I want you to go ahead and do your second row of pin curls now. So we finished our second row. Remember, these pin curls were going clockwise. Second row was going counterclockwise. Just like we kept moving push-pull in our finger wave pattern, for our pin curl pattern, we're doing clockwise and counterclockwise. So if we did clockwise and then counterclockwise, what is our third one? That's right. We're going to now go back to doing clockwise. So on our last row, you're going to do the same thing. Remember, if the hair gets shorter, it's a little harder to work with. And it's a little tougher to get those ends tucked in. But that's okay. Let me get this one and turn it for you. Still keep it clipped to that scalp. And just on the inside. So that's starting our third row. Ribbon that hair. Make your pin curl. Lay it on top of your previous one. And clip it at the scalp on the inside of that pin curl. So let's get that third row done now. Okay, so I've finally gotten the last row of pin curls in. The bottom was a little tricky, wasn't it? That hair can be shorter, it can be straighter, it can be harder to work with. You may have to tilt your mannequin forward a little bit to get it really flat. Just remember, you want to work with that hair as close to the scalp as possible, and don't disturb that shape, and especially where you're going to be clipping your pin curl, your clippy at. So we've got our 3 ridges. We have 1 row of clockwise pin curls, 2nd row of counterclockwise pin curls, and a 3rd row of clockwise. And this is our finished product. And what she would do now is dry, and in her comb out, it's a lot like the 30s and the flappers and that type of look. So this would stay nice and flat, and this could be left in tighter curls or it can be in bigger curls. But remember, the more you pull them and play with them, the bigger and the bigger it'll get. So if you brush it out, it really gets big. This won't get big, but this part will. So just be careful in that. Have fun with the comb out with it as well. So if you've done all of this, good job.